What are the pros and cons of living in Burlington, Ontario? That is one of the most common questions I get from people thinking about making a move to the area. And in today's video, we're going to cover both the good and we're going to talk about the bad. Now, you're going to want to stick around into the end because some of the bad might actually cost you money. If we haven't met yet, my name is Mike. I'm a local realtor here in the GTA, and on this channel, you'll find real estate information that no one else is sharing with you. All right, let's just get right into it. First, let's start with where Burlington is actually located. So you're gonna find this in the West GTA. This is about 15 to 20 minutes from Hamilton to the west and Oakville to the east, about 30 minutes to Mississauga, and about an hour from downtown Toronto, depending upon traffic, of course. So before we even get started, its location is already a big pro. One of the biggest pros of living in Burlington is its sense of community, the community amenities, and how safe it is. Burlington is part of Halton region, and this ranks consistently in Canada as one of the safest cities to live. Crime rates are low and parks and streets are very well kept. And Burlington has a very calm, clean, and neighborly feel without feeling too sterile or boring. This is an especially popular city for young families and downsizers. There are lots of community groups, and overall, it just has a very welcoming feel. And in terms of community amenities, Burlington is very well served. You have 6 major community centers and full-service libraries. You have 4 indoor and 2 outdoor pools, and you have 7 ice skating arenas. And in terms of things that tie the community together, you have things like the farmers market. There are 3 located across the city, and then you have these big events that really tie the community together. And it also attracts people from outside Burlington as well. So people come for the Rib Fest, and you have the Sound of Music Festival, which happens every summer. You have the Canada Day fireworks, and in the winter you have the Festival of Lights. One of the biggest reasons that people move to Burlington is for its school quality. A lot of families from Milton or Hamilton, where the reputation for school scores and rankings tends to be a little bit lower, they specifically target Burlington for many of the pros that we're going to be speaking of in this video, but definitely for overall school quality, both on the public and the Catholic side. At both the elementary and secondary school level, schools tend to rank well above the Ontario provincial average. Now, for the latest scores and rankings and reports, you can actually check out all of that information on my website, linked in the video description below. Another big pro about Burlington is that there is a neighborhood for every lifestyle. South, Central, and North Burlington all offer something very different. Starting with South Burlington, this is closest to major amenities, it's closest to all 3 GO stations, and it is closest to downtown and the lake. This is the place to be for those looking for bigger lots at a huge discount compared to South Oakville. Here you have wider, tree-lined streets with less sidewalks and a lot more space between homes. On the other end of the spectrum and at the other end of the city is North Burlington, and this is where you'll find much newer homes, more modern homes, modern towns, semis, and detached, but unfortunately they'll be on smaller lots. You're trading that lot for modern interior and finishes, which is fine for a lot of people because they're looking for a lot less maintenance. On top of that, these neighborhoods have a lot of young families, so this is a really attractive place for them to be. And then we have Central Burlington, which of course is between North and South Burlington, and just like its location, it tends to be sort of a balance of lifestyles between the old and the new. The homes here are older, but they're often not outdated, and you still get the bonus of a larger lot. And a big change is happening in Central Burlington, where a lot of younger families are now moving into the area, so you get that bonus without it feeling too busy or crowded overall. Finally, we can't talk about Burlington neighborhoods without mentioning 2 of its most desirable in Aldershot and Tyandaga. These ones are a bit more tucked away, but definitely ones that you should be keeping an eye on if you're thinking about moving to Burlington. Tyandaga definitely leans more upscale, as there are some of the most gorgeous homes in Burlington in this neighborhood. And Aldershot is definitely a mix of old and new, surrounded by green spaces and major landmarks like the Royal Botanical Gardens, LaSalle Park, and the Burlington Golf and Country Club, all about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Burlington. And just a really quick break here. If you're finding value in this video, just go ahead and hit the like button. It will help people find content just like this. Okay, let's get right back to it. One of the great things about living in Burlington, and another huge pro, is that you're surrounded by nature and green space. So if you want to get a little bit out of the city itself, you have tons of places to explore, but you actually have nature and green spaces woven into the city as well. You have places like Spencer Smith Park, the Waterfront Trail, and of course you've got the Royal Botanical Gardens, which is a huge staple of Burlington. And for some really spectacular views and hikes, you can visit Mount Nemo. For cyclists, you have great biking trails both within the city and down by the waterfront. And for those into golf, you have tons of options. There are multiple golf courses all over Burlington. So no matter the stage that you're at, if you're single or you are a young couple or you have a young family or you're a mature family now or you're a senior, there is lots to do when it comes to nature and outdoor spaces. So if that is something that is important to you, this is definitely a big pro of living in Burlington. And here's a bonus pro for you if you're looking to move to Burlington. Downtown Burlington is definitely one of the great features of living in the city. Now, it's not a huge downtown by any stretch, but it's super active, it's walkable, and it has one of the nicest waterfronts in the GTA. Some will argue that it is the nicest waterfront in the GTA. You have the amazing Spencer Smith Park right there alongside the Brant Street Pier, and then you have the amazing waterfront trail. And you've got lots of great local restaurants and cafes. This is a great place to hang out on the weekend with friends, with family, and especially with young children as well. And as I promised, we are going to talk about some of the bad now, because with every city there are cons and they're important to know before you make a decision to move. I would say one of the biggest cons right now, and this has happened with the growth of the city, and this happens to a lot of cities, is that there is a lot of traffic now. A lot of Burlington was built between the 60s and the 90s, and it means that it is a very car-dependent city. So whether you're coming from North Burlington or downtown or trying to hop on the QEW, congestion is just part of the routine now. Appleby Line, Dundas, the QEW 403, 407 merge, and of course the Skyway Bridge are all trouble spots. That means that on some days, if you leave even 10 minutes late, you can get stuck and it can cost you 20 to 30 minutes easily. And if you're commuting to Mississauga or Toronto on a daily basis by car, this can definitely wear on you over time. Okay, so what about public transit in Burlington? Well, that brings us to con number 2, unfortunately. When it comes to public transportation, like most cities, you're going to find that service for buses is typically only every 30 to 60 minutes. It's pretty infrequent. Now, it's not all bad when it comes to public transportation in Burlington. You do have 3 GO stations that are located on the Lakeshore line. So these can bring you anywhere from Niagara Falls all the way east of Toronto. The problem is that it's really hard to get to those stations unless you have a car or you live near them. Trying to commute and transfer through them can definitely be a huge pain. For those without a car, it is a difficult city to get around unless you live in South Burlington. Some pockets of it at least. Not every pocket is going to be as walkable, but it will definitely be better than those north of the QEW in areas like Central and North Burlington. Now, I mentioned that there are tons of things to do in Burlington, but that's during the day. Unfortunately, the city kind of turns off at night. There's not really much of a nightlife. So if you're looking for a vibrant city with tons of things to do at night, Burlington is not going to check every box for sure. Instead, what people will need to do is head over to neighboring Hamilton or head into Toronto, because there are no major sports teams and not a ton of major venues here within Burlington itself. For teenagers, young professionals, and creatives, unfortunately, Burlington at times can get quite boring. What about the cost of living and real estate in Burlington? Well, depending upon where you're coming from, this could be either a pro or it could be a con. If you're coming from Oakville or comparing it to an Oakville or a Mississauga or a Toronto, for example, Burlington is going to feel like amazing value, and it still is in a lot of pockets and at a lot of price points. But if you're coming from other areas like Hamilton or a Milton, for example, that price point is going to be a lot higher than those cities. So is it a pro? Is it a con? It kind of depends. I would say overall, it's still a pro compared to other areas of the GTA and the value that you're getting, but I would say overall, it's not the cheapest city to live in. To give you some context in terms of pricing, the median price for a detached home is around 1.4 million. Condos will go typically just under a mil at around 950,000. For condo townhomes, a little bit less, 860,000. Then a 2-bedroom apartment will sometimes be north of 700,000 depending upon the building. But if you want to get the most current day pricing, then check out the list of preferred homes linked in the video description below. And one last thing I wanted to touch on is that there's limited new build options within Burlington. Most of the city has already been fully built out, with North Burlington being that last place that was really built out over the past 20 years. Alton Village, the Orchard, these areas have already matured. So if you're looking for a brand new home, Burlington is not really going to have a lot of options. The city over the next 10, 15, 20 years, a long-term plan is to now grow vertically. So that means condos. So that's the real deal on Burlington, the pros, the cons, and everything in between. For a lot of people, the communities, the schools, and the lifestyle are exactly what they're looking for. But if you're after a vibrant nightlife or maybe great public transportation options, then Burlington might not check every box. If you're seriously thinking about making the move to Burlington and you want to learn more about it, then you'll want to watch this video next. Or if you're ready to learn more about Burlington real estate and check out some prices, then check out the list of preferred homes linked in the video description below.